Yo, what is going on, NFT Bros Podcast listeners? I am Adam Andrews, your host, and on today's episode of NFT Bros Podcast, we have a special guest with us, Jeremy Wilson. Jeremy is the CEO and CTO of Lendal Pro Trade, and we're going to dive into a little bit more about his background and Web3 as a whole. Jeremy, why don't you introduce yourself, tell the audience a little bit about who you are, your background, how you got into crypto.
So glad to be here, Adam. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. A little bit about me and kind of what I'm doing. I got started in technology back in when I was a kid, tearing apart computers and stuff like that. Professionally, I got started in Web 1 back in 1995. I built my first piece of software when I was working for a company, and I really saw the internet as a future. And keep in mind that in 95, the headline in Newsweek magazine, back when people read magazines, the headline in Newsweek magazine was "Why the Internet Will Fail." And at the dinner table in most houses in America, at least, a lot of the conversation with the kids that were starting to explore the internet at the first time was that it was dangerous, and that it was a fad, and they were comparing it to like the pet rock and and things like that, right? And so I made a decision. So I was going to college to be a geophysical engineer. So I was going to be a geologist working in the petroleum industry. I had moved to Colorado to go to the Colorado School of Mines and basically focus on that and do that. When I built my first piece of software as a result of where I was working to solve a problem, I was like, boy, this is the future. The internet, the ability to communicate just so fast and share that data. I saw the opportunity and the potential for commerce and just really the ability to revolutionize business. And so I made a career focusing primarily on startups, so very entrepreneurial in just about every aspect of my career, starting a company and then building that company up to success. I've worked across a number of industries in professional capacity, so entertainment with television, radio, and film. I've worked in healthcare technologies and I've worked within financial technologies. My best exit so far was $500 million to private equity, built that up from nothing to that $500 million exit with Perkins. That was in 2018. One of the ventures that I built back when Yahoo used to be a big thing in the mid to late 90s. And we built an entertainment website. We broadcast concerts live, electronic music festivals, things like that. We're always on the homepage of MSN.com and other places. And Yahoo wanted to actually turn us into Yahoo Music. The CEO turned them down, and then the dot-com bubble bust happened, and there goes, and that company went bye-bye, right? So goodbye on that opportunity. But that would have been great. That Yahoo stock was worth a fortune. And then so over the years, I knew about blockchain. Bought my first Bitcoin in I think it was 2014 or 2015. Didn't take it too seriously because it was just too early. I saw the application, I saw the opportunity, but there wasn't enough adoption and whatnot. But back in, after 2021 came up, and then a lot of people started coming out with their innovations and whatnot in 2021. I finally was like, now it's time. We can build something. We can take advantage of Web3. We can take advantage of blockchain technologies, and we can finally do something. And so I started trading somewhat full time and trading digital currencies and whatnot the majority of the time. Not so much the stock market. I like the fact that digital currencies are 24/7. I really like that about it. I like that everything is very instantaneous. I was spending a fortune on technical indicators to help me trade. And so I used a number of products, LuxAlgo, MarketCypher, Bird Pro. I was spending thousands of dollars every month on trading. And I was like, I'm just not getting the results that I'm looking for. I really wanted to be able to have software that would help me to not only trade when the opportunity was right, but I also wanted it to tell me when not to trade when things weren't right. And I also wanted to, on top of that, to be able to bot trade. I wanted to be able to automate my trading and whatnot. And so there just really wasn't a product out there that would allow me to do that. So I built one myself. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about today is the Lendal Pro Trader and some of the other products that we have as a result of that invention. But last year, I had the Lendal Pro Trader built for myself. I'm like, this is really fantastic. And so my chief operating officer for Lendal he were innovating on different Web3 ideas, different blockchain ideas. We were thinking about doing a startup studio, and so we were actually iterating on another product, and I brought my software that I had already built, and I was like, hey, I think I have something really special here. I think actually I can bring this to market and then use Web3 as a real as a way to be able to infuse a lot of value into the product, into the market, and bring a lot of that value also into the Web3 community. And so we started beta in July of 2021 of last year, of 2022 last year. And over between July and December, we had about 500 beta testers, and we developed the rest of the product with all of the beta testers. And we ended up in December when we ended the beta program with a product that was just such a good market fit. People were just massively successful with the software. And then over the course of the last few months, since December, we've been working on bringing forward that product as an NFT project, and there's a reason for that. But then also after the NFT project, that's going to be a real product with subscriptions. So we're a real company. We're not really an NFT project. We're a real company that's using NFTs. So it's more like a real company with an NFT project than an NFT project that's, trying to, be like everybody else out there. So we're a real company. We're really shooting to be a billion-dollar company by 2026. We have a roadmap to be able to get there. We have a number of products, and I'd love to talk to you about it today.
Dude, this is going to be an amazing podcast. We have so much to talk about. Such a great explanation and overview that leaves us with a lot of places to go. But why don't we go to one of the places that you had mentioned, which is like Web3 thoughts, your thoughts on the market, before we actually dive into talking about the specifics of Lendal as a product and as a business and like going down that route. Let's talk about Web3 and your thoughts, because I have a few questions about Web3 specifically, but I'd like to just open the discussion with what are your thoughts on like Web3, and we'll go from there.
So yeah, when you ask somebody, whether it be on social or you're in person with them, you say, "What is Web3?" A lot of people have different answers for what Web3 is. Some people say it's a new version of the internet. Some people say it's a technology. Uh, People have varying answers for it. I have a varying answer for that too, as well. So when I think of Web3, I don't think it's a technology. I don't think it's a new version of the internet. I do think that Web3 brings capability to the internet, because the internet, when it was developed, it didn't have any financial rails. The internet was simply the movement of data from one place to another. It was a network, right? So it basically connected everybody, but it didn't have any utility built into it, such as being able to do e-commerce. In the mid to late 90s, when we needed to do e-commerce, we didn't have APIs to be able to do financial transactions. None of that. We had to invent it all. At the time, it was a lot of like static files. We'd basically put information in a file. We would FTP it somewhere, and then the transactions would settle later. And at first, all of that was very slow and archaic and whatnot. So Web3 gives us a capability to do, with decentralized applications and whatnot, to be able to, conduct commerce. It's actually finally the rails that the internet needed all of these years. But the Web3 truly to me is community. What has really evolved out of Web3 are these decentralized communities. So in the 2000s, we had the birth of platforms like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and platforms like that was, heavy centralization, billions of users, all connecting within that closed ecosystem. And advertising, marketing had a boom because it provided a new opportunity to be able to reach lots of users in a targeted way and whatnot. But we all know the drawbacks of that and how powerful those organizations came. And then we started building all these communities in these big platforms like Facebook, and then they took away our ability to even communicate with all of our community members that we built. We had to now pay to be able to communicate with the communities that we built. And it showed us that we didn't actually own those communities. We didn't actually have a relationship with the communities that we were building. And if we wanted to have a relationship with them, we had to pay for it. And so Web3 is, if we think about how social networks are going to be in the future, I really do think that there's a decoupling from the major networks like Facebook and whatnot. And what we saw with the NFTs in 2021 and what we in the evolution over the last couple of years really is the evolution of social communities, niche communities where there's a specific topic or a genre or some sort of interest group and things like that where people are getting together. Sometimes, in some cases, tens of thousands of people or hundreds of thousands of people are getting together in these niche networks, and they all have something in common. And then the leaders of those networks, whether it's the community themselves that are leading it, or whether it's a company that's leading it, or just simply a group of like-minded individuals that are leading it and trying to bring value to that community, Web3 to me is community. So a company like mine, we're bringing an NFT to market that has specific utility tied to our product, but that NFT is really tied to Web3. So we want ferocious ambassadors. We want ferocious customers that are out there talking about us and saying, Lendal is so great, and just really just so much word of mouth and whatnot. And Web3 for us is really that social community that is not only advocating for our brand, for our company, for our product, for other community members in the community who are winning and see all of the value. We have an education program, we have products, we have services, all of that built around what we're trying to do as a business. But more importantly, that Web3 is community, and every single person that comes into the community, whether they're a professional trader or they're just getting started, or maybe they've had failure and they're trying to figure it out still, they're still trying to stick to it, we have a place for them. And those people are advocates of what we're doing and also what them and all of their fellow community members are accomplishing. And we have that NFT, which, if you think about it, it's kind of like a country club, but each member has the ability to now transfer their ownership in that club, right? And so that NFT not only provides keyed access to that community, but because our products are so strategically developed to support Web3, now that NFT also becomes a gateway into our products. And we even have passive income opportunities for the NFT that where the NFT actually isn't even a security. We've been in consult, so we're being represented by Goodwin Procter. They're one of the world's best law firms for financial technologies, digital assets. They represented Coinbase among lots of other kind of headline companies and organizations and whatnot. And they actually said that this is one of the first NFTs that they've seen that's actually utility and not a security. And they actually said, hey, this is low risk. And so we're in a really good position to offer our community a lot of value. And we've already been doing that since July of last year. And we're just, the thing that I love to see is everybody in the community winning like they are. We have a little application that allows people to post their wins to Twitter and whatnot. and it says Lendal on it. It has one of our PFPs in the background and stuff like that. And just people are posting their wins every day. People are in the Discord talking about how they're winning, or if they lost, they're helping each other and trying to figure out a better way to do it. They're sharing strategies with one another. It's just absolutely amazing. This is the type of engagement that all of the companies out there wish they had. And I feel like we're not early. I feel like we're right on time in our ability to leverage up this this innovation and this evolution in social networks to be able to really catapult us and our community and our customers into success moving forward.
Dude, that is such an interesting viewpoint. I agree with a ton of it. That you've inspired me to think about multiple things that we're doing, and through that statement about Web3, it's such an interesting viewpoint. I really think that more companies in the space need to take that viewpoint, because if you can build a product how you have built a product and create such a loyal base of users and a community of people that are using the product, you kind of just create yourself a little word of mouth army, right? And it just word of mouth, like everybody says, word of mouth is the best marketing. Yeah, it is. And so you're just using Web3 as a platform to garner great users for the platform to help expand it, and it's going to be beneficial for them to expand it. I'm very excited to see companies in the future do this as they come into Web3. If it's done right, it will be extremely beneficial for a company outside of Web3 to come in and utilize it in that aspect. There's so many different routes that you could take it from many different brands. I mean, you're talking fashion brands and consumers of goods and actual clothing, all the way up to financial services and trading algos and things like that. Which brings me to talk about Lendal and ask about Lendal. How long did it take to develop this product to come to market before you started taking on beta users? Because that's always to me an intriguing question of, like, how much time and effort have you put into this before ever showing it to anybody in the public and start to test it? Like, that always is an intriguing question to me.
So I have a unique and provenly successful way of bringing product to market, and I've made a career out of doing this successfully. And one of the reasons why I've had a number of successes in my career is because I do this. So what I do is, so if I'm improving a product, I will develop whatever needs to be done within 6 weeks and have it out in the customer's hands, no matter what. Whatever improvement it is to a product, I'll have it out within 6 weeks, regardless of how complex it is. And then at the same time, if it's something new, so if I'm bringing something to market where I'm trying to capture new market value, so it's a brand new product, or it's a product that is capturing an entirely new segment of a new market, I will do that within 90 days. And what I do is, from the time that I start development on, so code, since the time I start coding, the process of starting coding to the time that I deliver it in the customer's hands takes no longer than 90 days. I have not had a single time where, when I implemented my principles, my philosophies in this methodology, that I've had it take longer than 90 days. And I have some specific ways that I do that allows that to be able to happen. I mean, I've taken a number of financial technology products to market in under 90 days. And I mean, just in 2020, I brought a total of 5 companies to market, all in 90 days. And so what I do is I bring the product to market in those first 90 days, focusing on the most important critical features that we think need to go out there. But then we open it up to a select group of individuals. So with Lendal Pro Trader, I started out with 20 people, and I invited them from the Llamaverse community and a couple of other communities, Magma, and a couple of others. And I had a select group of people, and I started developing with the customer for the remainder of the development period. So the actual development time of the product was 9 months to the time that we ended the beta and we had something considered a generally available release. And so I developed for roughly 90 days. I had an initial version, and then I started talking a little bit about it and said, hey, I think I'm gonna bring this to market. But that entire period from the time that I started that to the time that we went to beta was about 90 days. And then for 6 months, I developed with the customer, those first 20 users. And then each couple of weeks, each few weeks, I expanded it to more and more users as the product got more features. And so I was doing releases sometimes multiple times per week. I was doing releases sometimes every week, every couple of weeks. And actually I was doing so many releases, the users were like, hold on. And so the key to developing a successful product is having product market fit. And the only way you can guarantee product market fit, so by the time you're ready to go and start selling it, if you don't have that product market fit, you're not going to be able to sell your product because it's not the right thing. It's not what customers want. It's not what they need, right? It might be what I had a vision for and what I wanted, but I am not my customer, right? Now, in this case, I have been a trader. I started developing it for me. I had a vision of what I wanted to be able to do. But let me tell you, there were things that I did that my customers didn't like. They told me they didn't like it, or they told me, hey, I get a lot of friction here. I'm really frustrated. I can't do this. I need to be able to do this. And so at the end of that 6 month development period where I was developing with the customer, by the end of that, I had product market fit and everybody was raving fans because it was exactly the thing that they wanted, exactly the thing that they needed. And that was across 500 people by the end of the beta program. Now we have about 1,000 people on the beta through a lot of our launch partners with for the NFT that we're bringing to market. And so roughly about 1,000 people. We're still getting some of that good feedback. We're not doing as major of releases right now, but instead of major releases on the Lendal Pro Trader, we have created additional products based upon the Lendal Pro Trader, based upon the feedback of those users, because we had people that said, this is just too hard for me. I need something easier. So we went through multiple iterations of making an easier product. So we have a product where we just give you the strategies. They're already pre-built, and so you don't even have to figure out how to do it. And then you just get the signals and you can trade them or set up a bot. Or if that's too difficult for you, we have another product available called Lendal Copy, where you just simply give us the API keys to your exchange, and we do all the trades for you. We do a risk managed portfolio, and we try to magnify the results of whatever you have, so we can take your $100 and magnify it to have an effect of $1,000 and have proper risk management and things like that. So not only did we get good product market fit for the Lendal Pro Trader, but we also ended up with a good product market fit for the additional products and services that we brought to the market, because people said, this is great, this is fantastic, but it's still too hard for me. I don't have enough time. I just can't do this full time. And so we increased the wallet share from this, from a quarter to now a half or a third or to 3/4, a whole, right? We've just exponentially expanded our ability now to capture revenue and make users extremely happy because we're giving them a product that they can use.
Yep, that is such an important thing as a company to be able to identify and expand into. You developed this insanely strong single product and then began expanding it as users came on, and they're like, hey, dude, there's a market over here for this because I feel this way. Okay, cool. Let's build you guys an option as well. And so, like you said, it just expands the wallet and potential market for the product and the community to be able to expand to, right? And so the growth, I think, in my eyes, for you guys, will be very expansive and fast over the next 12 to 24 months. In my opinion, regardless of market conditions, whether we stay in a bearish market and that's just like trading sideways, or we go crazy bull market out of nowhere, right? And I think that's important. And it's just important overall as any business to be able to operate in a bear or a bull market. So very, very interesting what you guys are doing. And the product is insane. It blew my mind when it was shared with me. I was like, holy shit, this thing's crazy. Like, because I was looking at your top product, I was like, wow, this is insane. And I got on a call with Matt and he broke it down for me. And then he was like, oh, the really cool thing we're doing with the NFTs and the products. And he shared that white chart that you guys have of the breakdown of everything. And I was just like, oh, okay. Yeah, that, like, and Matt shared with me the $1 billion vision. And I was like, yeah, they're going to do it. It's going to happen. And I was just blown away and super excited to be connected with you guys and building alongside you and partnering with you guys. We ironed out the details of the Just Cubes partnership earlier today and are going to start moving on that front. And, I'm really excited to begin helping share your guys' vision and becoming, a long-term partner with a badass company.
Well, and I think most importantly, I am a Just Cubes holder. So I actually minted, on the mint day, at the beginning of the mint. So I'm a holder and I've been using your utility the entire time. It's been really great. And I'm a big fan of Just Cubes and supporter for, ever since the start.
That's so humbling to hear. I love hearing that. I find that is happening more and more now as I'm connecting throughout the industry, not only with the podcast and what we're continuing to grow and build, but just overall. Like, I've met some people at like crypto conferences who were like, "Yo, wait, you're the founder of I hold this. I've minted this." Like, it's very cool, and humbling. So thank you. That's super inspiring. I'm excited to build what we're going to build. I'm very, very excited about that. And I look forward to building alongside you guys. What you guys are doing is inspiring. And you're very good at what you do. And so it's awesome to be able to build a business alongside somebody and, help expand each other's ecosystems and communities as a whole. Because I think the people that build together and interact together and collaborate will be the ones that make it in the end, right? The 99% of projects that have launched are probably going to zero. I mean, that's true for pretty much business in general. Like, not a lot of businesses make it past year 3. It's proven. And I think that's going to really start to show in the next 12 to 24 months, because that's, the expansion time of the market. 3 years, people are going to start going under, and the people who are building products that people care about and are expanding together are going to be the ones that win and that are going to still be here, because it is a community, right? Web3, like you said, it's a community, and that goes on the business side too, from my perspective. And I think, you guys are stacked with partners already, stacked. Like, it's awesome to see, and it's awesome to be a part of.
Was it you that I saw was reading the book Crossing the Chasm? Right? Did I see that?
Yeah, great book. Fantastic book.
Yeah, so it's great book. Yeah, great book as an entrepreneur.
That is a question I do like asking some people is, what is a good book recommendation for somebody maybe who's building in this market?
Oh, geez. So there is a book, and I'm having a hard time remembering the title of it now, but it's about what is the title? It's about being a category king. Hold on, I'm gonna search it up real quick because I just can't remember the name of it. But if you're serious about really becoming yeah, I got it now. So if you're really serious about becoming the leader in your space, there's a book, and you absolutely need to read this, Adam. It's called Play Bigger. And so if you're reading Crossing the Chasm, you're the Play Bigger book is all about being the category king. So it's about defining your category and then very strategically putting yourself out there. Even if you're not a first mover, you can still be the category king, because a lot of times people that are the first movers, they're not strategic about them retaining that position. Now they might have a lot of adoption and things like that going for them, but even if you're not the first mover, you still can become the category king if you are a disruptor. I mean, look what happened with search engines. Here comes Google, and they basically disrupted the entire market. And not only did they become the category king, but now instead of saying search engine, people said, I'm going to Google it, right? They became such a major player in the search engine, in the search category, that literally the name of the category was replaced by Google. Like, I'm going to Google it instead of I'm going to search it. Like before that, we had Hotbot and Yahoo and, Ask Jeeves and a whole number of other solutions. And then Google just came out. We're seeing this now with ChatGPT. ChatGPT, AI has been around for a while. There's been a number of different solutions out there, but now ChatGPT comes out and just such an amazing product market fit for what's out there. They're just in beta right now. Big disruptor, right? And if they play their cards right, and if they do that strategically, if they follow some of the concepts that are in Play Bigger, they're going to be the category king of AI. They're going to disrupt IBM, Watson, all that kind of stuff.
Yes, what they're doing is extremely, extremely impressive. I will order that book right after we get off here. Let me ask you this question. Within Web3 and crypto and your early, like your earliest dealings with it, if you could go back now and tell yourself one thing about the market, or give yourself one piece of advice about the market that is not like price action or like trade, like, hey, Bitcoin's going to fucking go to, 70K in 2020, sell then, or like whatever, or 2021, without that type of advice, what advice would you give yourself if you could go back to when you kind of first started to get into crypto and look at it?
Well, I would have definitely went in harder on Bitcoin. I remember the first time I saw Bitcoin, it was on the dark web, and a bunch of stuff. Like I was checking out the dark side of the dark web and see what was out there, because I heard it on in a magazine and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, let me go check out what this stuff really is. And everything was on there for Bitcoin, and I'm just like, what's this Bitcoin thing? I didn't take it as serious as perhaps maybe I should have. But I also think that, and of course, that would have made me so much more wealthier if I would have. But I think also that's a good thing, because had I recognized the value that blockchain has, and in hindsight, seeing what's happened, if I would have really recognized that at the time, back in 2014, 2015, I likely would have, because I'm an entrepreneur, I likely would have tried to start a venture, and it would have likely limited my success. And the reason why is because timing is everything. And likely, if I would have created a business, I would not have had the support in my local community or even among my network to be able to grow a business like that. The key thing that, so a business model is made up of driving value for customers, employees, and shareholders. If you're an NFT project out there, and you're not driving value for customers, employees, or shareholders, or if you're missing one of them, if you don't have customers or you don't have shareholders, if you don't have those three groups, and you could be the only shareholder, but you have to drive value for all those three. It's about bringing value that ties to the word benefit. People in the NFT space and crypto, they like to use the word utility. But utility doesn't really mean anything, right? I mean, utility, I have a piece of software on my computer that will, put memes on a picture. That's a utility, right? But that's not necessarily that strong of a benefit. And the thing that a business truly needs to have is a benefit. And the meaning of benefit is it provides an advantage and or profit. Lendal happens to provide both an advantage and profit across a number of our products. We and our community, our Web3 communities, we've been able to bring benefits to the community directly. We have a utility of a benefit of our NFT called. We were calling it delegated staking, but we have to stop using the word staking because of the connotations with it. Right now, I'm thinking of calling it delegated strike. So strike has like a strike price. It's a constant, and so we actually have the ability to offer passive income. So we allow our holders to sublease the benefit of our NFT to our customers. So when somebody goes to check out and buy the Lendal Pro Trader or buy Lendal Easy or buy Lendal Copy One or our upcoming product Lendal Hedge, in that checkout process, you're going to be able to buy the Lendal Pro Trader, or you're going to be able to buy Lendal Pro Trader Masters Edition. That Lendal Pro Trader Masters Edition is a bundling of whatever product they're buying with the Masters Edition. And the Masters Edition is everything in our community that you would get. And that is a lease of our NFT from a holder. And so that holder is able to get monthly reoccurring revenue from the customer. We take a piece of that, so we're not losing anything. But the holder basically is able to lease that. It's no different than if you had an apartment and you go up on the marketplace to lease your apartment for the weekend. That we're treating that as your property, and we're allowing all of our holders to actually participate in customers being onboarded to the product. So we're going to have roughly about 2,000 NFTs in our collection, but we're going to have hundreds of thousands of customers. So 2,000 delegated strikes are not going to, greatly impact our business or anything like that. And if anything, it's going to bolster that Web3 community. It's going to provide so much value. And people aren't going to want to sell the NFTs. They're going to want to hold them either as a direct user themselves, or the ability to give people access to something that they can't, that they would have to pay for otherwise, but as a bundle. So the NFT actually provides a lot more value in that same transaction. So people are going to sell that at roughly about the same price. And so that kind of like value transfer and having, like, if you have a product that is fundamentally valuable, there's so many innovative things that you can do with it when you couple Web3 together with it, where you can now combine your benefits together with the benefits of the community. Like, a lot of these NFT projects, they're giving away their alpha, they're giving away their education, they're giving away their mental health, all this stuff that they're doing, when the reality is they can monetize all of that if it's truly valuable, if it's truly a benefit. They can actually sell that as a product, as a service, give those additional benefits to holders, intermingle the two, and to provide benefits to both. And you can actually develop quite a really good business model with it. But the key is you've got to have a real benefit there to start with.
Yep. And that is what a lot of these NFT projects are missing. And, I think it speaks to where the market's at currently and where it's shifting to, because people don't start businesses and just call them projects, right? Projects are a short-term thing. Projects aren't meant to build ecosystems like this and become a business. And that's what a lot of these projects are missing, right? They don't have a reliable source of income behind them. They're using NFTs to profit from. That's it. That's purely what they're doing. And those will be the losers, the people that understand how to utilize the technology to give back to their customers and consumers and community with value are going to be the ones that win, especially you're kind of like creating a network effect almost within the company. And like that is how largest companies in the world grow, right? It's network effect. And Web3, you can do that because the technology allows you to do so many amazing things in terms of sharing across different things and products. This technology is the most disruptive technology since the internet has started.
I think so, yeah. So I think your microphone switched to another microphone. You might want to check that.
Okay.
It
Oh,
sounds much different.
it did.
There you go. Yep, there you go. Now you're rock solid. Um, the back in the 90s when the internet was first coming up, it was very similar to what happened in the token run of 2017, and then very similar to what happened in the NFT run of 2021. The dot-com bubble was a bubble because all of these entrepreneurs were taking in venture capital, angel money, family office money, and whatnot before they had a product. And back then we called it vaporware. So if you might have a great idea, and the money rush was so intense in the dot-com bubble. Basically, everybody was just giving millions of dollars to these entrepreneurs because they had a good idea, but they couldn't execute on them. And the internet bubble primarily popped because everything was propped up on overvaluations, basically fake innovation, on hype and innovation. And we saw that with all of the token offerings in 2017. There was just crypto company after crypto company launching a token and had all these great ideas and everything, but 99% of them or higher, something like that, ended up being what I call vaporware and what we called vaporware back in the day. And we saw the same thing with the NFT boom, is you had all of these people saying, "Oh, we're going to develop this metaverse and these games and all this other kind of stuff," and it was all based upon the idea of being able to do something, but fundamentally it was being driven by entrepreneurial thinking, but without any sort of entrepreneurial experience in the majority of the cases where people couldn't actually execute and deliver. So, now we're, almost a couple of years later, and I mean, how many of these projects actually delivered? Hardly any of them, right? And so we see this time and time again. We do have a significantly disruptive thing. All this massive cash flow comes into it based upon these people who have ideas, and then it falls flat on its face. But then people like me come around and other innovators, like there are good innovators in the space. There are good products out there that are being created, but we bring the value first, and then we present that benefit. We show people, we don't tell them. One of my core principles is exactly that. Show me, don't tell me.
I absolutely agree with you 100%. So I was going to go down this other tangent, but let me bring this back to a point that you made. You said it looks similar to a past market, and then something fell flat on its face, right? Where at in this market do you see us in relation to, let's say, the .com era?
So there's a lot of trouble out in the market right now. The banking system has, so I read that the US banking system has over 600 billion in unrealized losses. We've had trillions of dollars deposited into the banking system. And the balance sheets on the banks truly are over leveraged. Silicon Valley Bank had, I think it was 42 or $46 billion liquidated from the bank run in one day. Bank runs used to take weeks to take place. People would be showing up, the word of mouth, They'd be waiting outside. And most of our laws and regulations are based upon liquidity in a bank being drained over weeks. That's not the case anymore. I can just go to a web page. I can do a transfer for millions of dollars and liquidate all of that in an instant. Our laws, at least in the US, are very, very outdated when it comes to the ability for a bank to survive. We saw another bank get liquidated even before the bank run, really, really, really impacted it. And the government just shut them down. And there's speculation that they want to do that because they were crypto friendly and everything. But the reality is even J.P. Morgan Chase. So let me just give some context here. There was so the government does here in the United States, the government does what's called stress tests on the U.S. banking system to see how robust or fragile a particular bank or sector of the banking industry is. And what they found is that if unemployment rises and the rates keep going up, even JP Morgan is going to fail. Which means if JP Morgan fails, and of course JP Morgan would be bailed out, it's too big to fail. But that shows the weakness in our system that, and we're headed that way right now. Now they know that, so they're likely going to take some safeguards and stuff. But if the public panics like they have been, now the Fed did some things to try to prevent that from occurring more. They created a fund to be able to bail out all the depositors, even over 250,000, which is the basis of insurance. And so all of the depositors were made whole. The investors of the bank were not. I think that's okay, and they stopped a much more systemic problem from happening. But overall, there's weakness in the market because of the pure irresponsibility of our governments and even the people in overspending. You've got something like 60% of people live paycheck to paycheck, right? Even if they're making six figures on their salary, they're living paycheck to paycheck. And when you look at the lower salary makers or the hourly wage workers, it's even higher, right? People back in the olden days, in the 50s, 60s, 70s, maybe even 80s, used to have provisions in their house, so if they lost their job, they could still feed their family. Or if there was a local weather thing that made it so that way you couldn't get water from your tap anymore, you had water, and things like that. And there's overall just a sense of dependency on the system. And what we're seeing now is that overall there is a weakness on that system. We have way too many people that depend on the system. And so if you are living paycheck to paycheck, which the majority of people are, and whatnot, the current market is very overinflated. The typical asset on the stock market is the valuation of that asset is 30%. I think it's 30% higher than actually what they should be worth, right? Now that's come down over the past months with them increasing interest rates and whatnot. They're making money more expensive to get because inflation went out of control. But the reality is we have a systemic risk to our system. Everything is very inflated. And so I do think that sometime in the next years, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, something like that, we are going to see even more happen with banks or other parts of the system that will cause risk assets to fall dramatically. But then digital assets, if they're not regulated out of existence, they will then spike up soon after. Kind of like what we saw in COVID, kind of like what we saw in the latest bank catastrophe, right? And so if you're smart, you are saving money right now and have been, and you're not living paycheck to paycheck. And even if you can save $20 per paycheck and put that away, you are so much further out ahead than the majority of Americans, at least. And then when that dip occurs, when those big downfalls in the economy happen, you can enter the market. And when they come back up, that's how you get generational wealth, right? And a product like Lendal actually helps you to understand when that's happening, right? So in this last downturn, when Silicon Valley Bank went down, right, the sell triggered on Lendal, on the Lendal Pro Trader, so people were shorting the market, and then people bought in at the bottom, and then it shot up by, you know what, 25% over the course of 3 days, something like that, right? I bought USDC at 91 cents because I knew that the fair market value of it, even with the 3.3 billion in liquidity difference from the potential loss in Silicon Valley Bank, was still going to put the coin at 96 cents. So I knew no matter what I was going to. So if you are educating yourself, if you are, you know, even if you don't make a lot of money, you can still put away $5, $20, you know, per paycheck. You can still put away something. You can make a sacrifice somewhere, and you might already be sacrificing a lot, but you know, you buy beans instead of, you know, something else, right? There's a way to do it no matter what, right? Instead of buying something, you barter, you trade with your friends or with your relatives, things like that. And so if you're doing something actively to give yourself an edge, you are going to come out on top, right? And let me tell you, $10 per paycheck, when you're doing that over the course of years, that creates a lot of value. It might not seem a lot, but man, does it add up over the years. I mean, even if you're like 18 and you're just coming out of high school and you just put away, so out of your paycheck, you put away $20 per paycheck, you're going to be in such a better position. Like, just put it into the stock market. It doesn't just keep putting it in there, or in some sort of a fund where there's a decent growth rate on average. And by the time you get to the end, when you're retiring, just putting that little bit over that time frame, you're going to be a millionaire, right? And people don't think through this. They just think about now. They just think about, like, they just think, oh, it's only $10, right? They're not thinking about how that's going to have an impact in the federal government spending more money over the last 8 years than has been spent over the entire lifespan of the United States. That type of behavior, you going out and buying a new BMW when you're living paycheck to paycheck, stuff like that, you're just going to be in the poorhouse no matter how much money you're making.
Absolutely. I used I've spoke about this exact same thing in conversation with quite a few people, and my view on this is, if you got a what they call them, COVID relief checks or whatever, like the $1,200 or like however much they gave out, I think
Stimulus.
yeah, the stimulus, yeah. If you just took that stimulus and just put it in a whole life insurance account and never touched it until you were 50, 55, 60, it would probably have a couple $100,000 in it, just purely from the compounding interest. And people just don't understand that. They will not take the time to understand how much just a little consistency in doing something will have a massive result in the end, right? It's like take this $20 extra, take this $10 extra, and put it in the account. It has a massive, massive effect at the end of the day. And everybody says, "Oh, remember those days? Felt like yesterday." Well, that's because time, it moves so fast. And if you're just consistent and not trying to move fast with it, you'll enjoy the whole process. I'm glad I was able to gain that perspective, I guess, somewhat early in life, and start the process of putting that money away, and making those sacrifices, because having discipline now is going to be such a big reward later than just spending the $10 elsewhere, or, not putting the $100 aside a month.
One of the big things that we teach in our community is mindset, and trying to get people to, so if people go on an exchange that has leverage, they'll go 10x leverage, 20x leverage, and they'll get these big returns, 40%, 80%, etc. and they're like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then they get their next 60% loss, but they're losing 60% on the entire account, which is so much more expensive than that 60% on the original balance. And they ultimately get liquidated, or they completely fail, etc. And we're trying to teach people how, like, leverage is actually really amazing. Not that the problem is people come in with the wrong mindset. They think they're going to win the lotto. They see these big wins, and they're like, man, if only I could get 40%, I'm going to be rich, right? We just saw a couple days ago a Twitch streamer lose $1 million in a liquidation. The market tanked, and he shorted it at the bottom, right? And then the market went the other way. He got liquidated, and then he longed the top. That is not the right thing to do. It not only is he gambling, but he's just got the wrong mindset, right? And so there is a way to do this smartly. And I do think that the one thing that crypto digital assets has done, because of the 24/7 nature of it, the lack of regulation, it's been good for many people. It's been bad for some because of the scams and whatnot. But I do think that it's increased the accessibility to knowledge, to give people some more financial education. If somebody gets wrecked and they're persistent, they learn why they got wrecked, and they do much better moving forward if they're smart. Or you have people that are like, okay, this is interesting. Let me see how this works. Like, so every day we're exposing new people that have never traded in the stock market. We're teaching them how to trade. We're teaching them how to invest. We're teaching them how to do risk management. So we like we have a Discord bot that we put in communities, and that Discord bot is even risk managed. We tell people, like, hey, there's an opportunity on Ethereum to buy at this price, right? But we say, hey, if you follow these instructions, you'll only have a risk of 4% on your account if you do it like this, right? And it's not financial advice, it's education, because we want people to understand how to use things like leverage responsibly, where you can actually have $100 in your account and get an effect as though you had $1,000, while only only exposing risk to max 4 or 5% of your account. And you can do that over and over and over again. We have portfolio strategies that allow us to magnify a portfolio by 10 to 15x, just because we're using things like leverage and margin strategically when we deploy that capital. And we teach those things, and financial education is so important in everything that we do. And I think in the average person's life, financial education is dramatically missing. Parents don't teach it. Schools don't teach it, right? Unless you're going for an econ major or something like that. You don't learn about risk management. You don't learn about wealth preservation. You don't learn about creating iterative gains that have such massive value over your lifetime. The reality is if people got true financial education, most people would be wealthy. Most people would not be trying to leverage the system, the government system or whatever like that, to make it day by day. We wouldn't have so many people on welfare and things like that.
Yep. It's the classic, you can teach a man how to fish, or you can just feed a man. And if you educate yourself on the markets and on money that you're trading, like you're not trading a company, you're trading money. So you need to understand the fundamentals of it. And this goes back to just, life and going and trading your time for money, right? You're trading your time for something that is of value to you. And now you can do that on markets, but you need to understand money as a whole overall to be able to win this game, right? Because that's how this game is based. It's all monetary, right? There's value trade everywhere. And if you can understand money and how it works and how to use it to your advantage, and and you're educated on it, which you guys are doing a great job of educating, and it's something that is a massive focus of our media strategy and marketing strategy moving forward in 2023 as well. And it's education, because that's where we're at in the market. People need to be educated on how to use these things in Web3, especially if you're building a technology company that's providing products to trade markets. And you guys are executing that strategy beautifully.
Well, it's been great being here today. I really appreciate you having me on. I've loved talking to you about all this. I'm very passionate about a lot of it, so I really appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely. Jeremy, thank you for coming on. We are right at that hour mark. So I will close it down with my final question that I love asking. And that question is, dude, we've talked about so much: Web3, trading, Lendal, the markets, business, but I don't really know who Jeremy Wilson is. So why don't you share with me and the audience like one hobby, a favorite food, like something unique about yourself that's not related to Web3 or business?
So I am a published producer. I've had over 20 titles on television and film. I have a full studio in my house, full pro studio. Had a number of record deals over the years, and yeah, not too many people know that about me. I don't share that very often, and but I think sometimes the best entrepreneurs and the best software developers and whatnot are creators or guitar players and things like that. And so, I'm a very creative person. And I've made a lot of music, and and that's kind of one of my big hobbies.
Wow, that is very, very interesting. Very cool. Amazing. I have a buddy who makes music. He's a producer, and I told him, because I started to have more of a respect for music making as I began getting into editing videos and things like that and seeing the back end of that. And I told him, I go, yo, I want to come by for a studio session when you produce some music or do something. And it's super cool to me. It's amazing. That's very, very interesting, and a great way to end the episode. So with that being said, Jeremy, thank you for coming on. All of the links for Lendal and to connect with Jeremy on Twitter and wherever he wants will be in the description below. Thank you guys for joining us today. Jeremy, it was a pleasure, and I look forward to our Lendal partnership and watching this company grow in the future.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yes, sir. All right. We'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace.